Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm doing a discussion over Sagrada. And if you're fans of the channel or have been here for at least since 2017, you'll be like, wait a minute, don't you have a discussion over Sagrada? And I did. It has been quite some time since I've actually done a review or discussed this game at all, and since that time, many expansions have come out for it, and I finally had a chance to play all three of them, which is the Great Facades, I think series is what they're called, which is Passion, Life, and Glory. And I'm going to be talking about all three of them in this discussion as well. But first things first, if you don't know what Sagrada is, it is a dice drafting dice placement game where you are building stained glass windows for the Sagrada Cathedral, and using public objectives as well as your own private objectives to place in a 4x5 grid. And the game is just absolutely gorgeous to play. I've loved this game since it came out, and Ben, the founder, I guess, of Floodgate, I met him back when this game was coming out, kind of on an off chance. We were playing just a game at Gen Con one year, and I think I remember him saying that he was like, oh yeah, like I'm the one who runs Floodgate, and I was like, oh cool, like I just started my YouTube channel. If you want me to do a review, I'll be more than happy to. And he's like, yeah man, and he sent me a copy, did a review, and now every single year whenever I go to Gen Con, I always make sure to stop by and say hi. Him and his wife are some of the nicest people you can ever meet. They're not paying me to say this either. It'd be really weird. He had some back payment he owes me from 7 years ago. No, it's just always a pleasure to talk to them, and so now that I've been able to play every expansion for Sagrada, it's like, okay, I think it's time to do an updated discussion. But the things about Sagrada that are really, really cool is that it's like that perfect sweet spot of kind of a filler game. Works for any number of players. Like, I really love this game at 2. Up to, with the expansion, 5 to 6, it just goes so quick. Now, the higher up in player count you go, the more tense it gets, because the higher the chance of someone needing a specific die increases. In a 2-player game, it's like, okay, yeah, you might have someone who might also happen to need a yellow die, but that's not happening. So you kind of both get to fill out your window, whereas in a multiplayer game, it might get a little bit more tense, and you might be using your favorite tokens to use tools. One thing I also really like about Sagrada is the fact that even though it uses dice, I mean, you almost never feel like the game went your way or not your way because of the dice. If you've built your window in a specific way to where you are now searching for a specific color or a specific number, that's on you. That's on the player that mismanaged the placement or mismanaged their favorite tokens, because then you're just hoping for a perfect bag pull and a perfect roll. So there's just tons of mitigation in this game that whenever I'm losing points because of empty spots, it's like very minimal. It's like 1 point, 2 points, but it's like, oh well, I banked 6 favor tokens, so it's still a net positive of 4. And even whenever I'm playing this game, the scores are always very, very tight. Like, it's so close. And then it's also super short. Like, the game, not super short, but the games are not that long. It's only 10 rounds, and you're taking 2 dice each round. So it goes by super quick. Like, I just played like 4 games of this in a row, and it was like a couple hours, and I was always excited to throw in something new. So the base game of Sagrada is fantastic. I love the way that these dice work. Now, I mean, to be fair, the game is not colorblind friendly in any way, and that is kind of a shame. I know they made an effort to change that in Sagrada Artisans, which I have a discussion over that version. So go check that out if this isn't working for you, but you also love to color. But in this, the base game of Sagrada is like a solid 8. Like, now let's talk about the 3 expansions. So we're going to start with the first one that came out, which is Passions. Passions is a really good start to this this trilogy of mini expansions. So what it adds, and all of these expansions are modular, which is again fantastic, meaning that if you have all 3, then you can mix and match different components as you see fit. Throw them all in, pick one from each or whatever. Throw in everything from Passions and one from Glory or one from Life if you see fit. It all works. So Passions adds the Inspiration module and the Rare Glass module. So the Inspiration module is basically a player power. Like, it will give you unique abilities. Let me see if I can find them. Yeah, so like once per round after drafting, you may spend 1 favor token to swap the drafted die for a die from the round track. Okay, well that's pretty sweet. At the beginning of the game, lose 1 favor token. Once per round, using a tool only costs you 1 favor token. So there's not a lot, but I mean, these aren't big box expansions either. The Inspiration module, I think, is very clean. It's awesome. I mean, player powers are always amazing. And I've loved the fact that there's so many different windows now for Sagrada over the years, that all of these are double-sided, that your power is kind of going to dictate, how useful it is depending on how easy or hard your window is. If you choose a 6 difficulty window, well, you're probably going to be able to use your power a lot more. I think that's really cool too. So it's very simple. I mean, almost everything in these expansions are simple to toss in, because again, they're very, very simple or small expansions. But I really like the Inspiration module. The next one is the Rare Glass module. So what this does is it adds a unique die and kind of a unique use of that die. So the Rare Glass is like this like crystal kind of looking die that almost bypasses like color restrictions. It bypasses the rules a little bit, but for you to place it in your window, you have to spend favor tokens. So like this one is Flash Glass. Move a die in your window, then place this die in that die's previous location. Obey all placement restrictions. But you have to spend favor to actually place these in there. And you can get a lot of victory points when you use this module. Your private objective is based around the Rare Glass. And some of these, pretty much actually just one. Like the Glue Chip Glass has 3 rare chips. All the other ones have 1. So you have 6 different Rare Glass rule placements. And it's pretty good. Like, it's not my favorite module, but it's definitely there. Kind of similar to what comes later in the Glory expansion, but since this is the first one that came out, it's neat. It's different from just the 5 base colors of green, blue, red, yellow, and purple. So, the Passion expansion, I'd probably give a 7. I think this is a good mini expansion to kind of throw into Sagrada. I mean, player powers are going to be always welcome whenever the game doesn't come with them inherently. So, that is Passions. Next is Life. This was the second one. I wish I sold the boxes for these, but this is probably my favorite one. This one, to me, is the one that actually adds the most complexity to the game, and that's even including Glory. And is a nice step up whenever you have been playing this game a lot. And I have played a lot of Sagrada. I've played so much of base, and I played through the entire campaign of Artisans, that having Life thrown in, and it's like now you're thinking of a bunch of different stuff, is really, it works for me really well. So, it adds 2 things, the Apprentice module and the Masterwork module. So the Apprentice module is actually pretty simple. Now it restricts your options of choosing the windows. So you have to place specific windows because they have a particular icon that when you place a die on it, you draw 2 cards from the Apprentice deck, and then you keep one. Now what these do, or you can draw the top card of the discard pile. These basically give you a special tool. Like instead of having to spend favor tokens on the tools, it kind of is a one-time use or like a special power throughout the course of the game. So for example, if you have this one that says discard, swap any 2 dice from the round track with any 2 dice from the draft pool. Discard, flip any numbered die in your window to its opposite side, keeping the same location. Or activate, each of your favor tokens are worth 2 victory points. So there's a decent stack here for the Apprentice cards, and the windows have like 2 locations that once you do place a die on there, draw 2. It's like, and they could be, again, worth victory points or a special one-time use power. Those can be very beneficial. But it's the Masterwork module that... now, it's funny because after playing Sagrada Artisans, I see now where certain things were coming from. Not trying to spoil anything for that, but it's like, I see now why this is in here. So, what Sagrada Artisans, Life does is it now adds these orange dice that have directional arrows on them. And whenever you draft a die, you can place that if it matches the color or the number on here. And that will let you take that orange die and place it into your window. They have restrictions, and if you're able to meet those restrictions, then that's an additional 5 points. So, and then of course there's public objectives for that and private objectives, things that are surrounding this module specifically. And this is where the extra thinking comes in. Because one, you have to care about, you know, the dice that you're giving up and how it might come back to bite you if you don't place it in your window. Or you can grab these dice and place them in your window and then build around them. So an extra 5 points. But, I mean, if you don't meet those restrictions, then they don't really do anything for you. But they're also still orange dice, so they count for, you can't have like a bunch of Masterwork dice next to each other. So the Life expansion, I really enjoy. It just kind of, let's see. Yeah. It just kind of works very well for me, but also, again, if you, like, these can be like baby step expansions for the game. You've played Sagrada a ton, then you throw in Passions. I mean, there's not much to Passions that gets added in, and then you throw in Life, and you're like, oh, okay, now I'm thinking a lot more. So the Life module, or the Life expansion, I really enjoy. And then last one is the Glory expansion. And this one actually adds the most. Like these other two, they added in 2 modules. This one adds in 4? It adds in 1, 2, 3. It adds in 3. So it adds in the Strife module, it adds in the Pioneer module, and it adds in the Flourish module. And all of these I also like. 2 of them I like more than the other one, but it's not like the third one I think is bad. So the Strife module, very similar to the rare die, the rare glass die, in that there are now gray dice. And these gray dice are guaranteed to come out. You actually modify the die bag. Instead of having 18 of each color, you have 10 of each color, and then you throw in a certain number. Well, I guess it's player-based. Depending on, in a 2-player game, which is how I just played, it's 10 of each color and 4 gray dice, but you have a pool of 10 Strife that you add. So you actually draw less dice each round and throw in 1 Strife die. But what's neat is the Strife dice have their own special restriction, and there are 6 of these as well, on how that particular die can be placed. And I think this is actually really neat. I like the additional complexity of, okay, well, you're guaranteed to get this die, but that die has its own specific rules. On top of all the other ones that I mean, you still have to manage the placement restrictions. None of these really get rid of that. Like, there could be tools or things or, you know, special powers that might let you ignore that, but the base rules of always having to manage restrictions is still in Sagrada, because otherwise, I mean, you miss out on the big thing that Sagrada brings. But this one is really cool. I like this module a lot. Adds tons of variety. I mean, theoretically, there's nothing stopping you from throwing in the rare glass as well as the strife dice. I was like, what are they called? Hell, you can even throw in the life dice, the masterwork module, and just have 3 different unique dice. But that would be, I mean, I feel like that would be a little bit too much for this game. So, strife module is really cool. Like, again, gray dice may be placed on any color-restricted space, but must still obey all other placement restrictions. Gray dice may not be in the same row as other gray dice. Gray dice may not be diagonally adjacent to other gray dice. So, again, giving you, like, special abilities with those gray dice or other restrictions. So, these are really, really cool. The next expansion, or next module, that I really liked is the Pioneer module. So in a game of Sagrada, you have public objectives that everyone is obviously aware of, and they're trying to score and get the most points for that. Well, the Pioneer module adds in kind of a race to complete an objective, because the public objectives you score at the end of the game, these, it's like first one to do this gets this card. So it's like first one to fill the bottom half of their window. It's like, okay, well, I did that first, so boom, I specifically get 3 points. First to make an X of the 5 unique colors gets this, and that's 5 points. And there's a certain number of those out that people are racing for. I like that a lot. I really like private and public objectives because, I mean, to me, that just kind of enhances the game and gives it a different, you know, flavor and variety each time. And also adding in a race. So it gives me like Honey Buzz vibes, if you've played Honey Buzz, where it's like there are some endgame objectives, but it's like, ooh, this one's first to do this, and that's going to give me a significant amount of points. Because like I said, the game is so tight, 5 points is not nothing. So the Pioneer module, I think, is a really good one to add in too. And the last one is the Flourish module. This one, I think, is just okay. It basically gives you additional private objectives with a little bit more of a risk. So your initial private objective is usually just some of, you know, it's a sum of a certain type of die. Hey, some of your green dice. That's how many points you get. And there's no consequence to whatever that is. You always gain points. The Flourish module adds in kind of a risk-reward system where you have a way to get more points, but if you don't complete the requirements, then you actually lose that amount of points. So, like, it's okay. Like, I feel like with everything that the game can add, like with the Pioneer module or the new public objectives or the dice and still the placement, also having to keep in mind another private objective. Actually, you get drawn 2 and you get to keep. You can keep both or none, so or one. I mean, that is up to you. And for each one you keep, you do get a favor token, which is nice. So it's kind of your own risk reward. Like, I would probably do the Flourish module if I wasn't throwing in a whole bunch. If it was like base game, Flourish module would be really cool because that's just one other thing to keep track of versus everything that the glory expansion brings in. But hey, I mean, that's the thing about like 3 modular expansions is you get to mix and match to whatever group you're playing with, to whatever you're feeling at the time. So if you just want to play base but then spice it up a little bit, okay, yeah, I'll draw 2 Flourish cards and see which ones. And you pick those after you get to see your window, which is nice, so you get to see how easy or hard it's going to be. And I guess I do kind of like the fact that if you don't keep it in mind, then you are going to lose those points, and that can cost you a game, because Sagrada typically is a very tight scoring game. I never have a blowout whenever I play. So, that, I mean, out of these 3, my favorite is Life, and then probably Glory, and then Passions, like as overall expansions. If I'm talking about the module specifically, my favorite is the Masterwork module. So my Masterwork, and then probably Strife, the Strife module, then Inspiration. The Inspiration, which is like the player powers. Then Pioneer. Then, let's see. Then probably Apprentice, Rare Glass, and the Flourish cards. So I think that's how I'd rank the different modules. But I mean, again, these are all super solid to add to Sagrada, which is already a fantastic filler game. And with all three of these, you know, adding into Sagrada, I mean, which is already an 8, I mean, I'd bump it up to a 9.5. Like, it's such a solid, like, staple in my collection. Everyone I've shown this to has gone out and bought a copy. I think this is one of the best, almost opening games to a company. If it is their opening game, it's the one that put them on the map for me, anyway. And it's like, well, you can't really go downhill from here. And then overall, like, ranking these specifically, let's see. We're going to give Passions a 7, because it's good. It is a good mini expansion. I'm going to give Life an 8. I'm going to give Glory an 8 as well. I do like Life a lot, but Glory did come with more, and 2 out of the 3 I do really like as well. So that's kind of where I'm at for these 3 expansions. I mean, I really don't have many negatives for the game, honestly. Production is great. It's always great to see your window completed and everyone feels satisfied. And it's a restrictive game that whenever you're playing it, it's like, I don't know, like, it just doesn't feel like mean. It doesn't feel like you're screwed the entire time. It's just kind of like, oh man, I didn't get one spot done. Now, there are times whenever you don't get a spot done, then you look at all the public objectives and they completely don't score because you do miss one. But I rarely have that happen. So yeah, it's awesome. They have so many windows to throw in. And I mean, just the variety of windows are going to change how useful your tools are going to be, how the public objectives are going to score, how these modules are going to interact. Like, all of that, like, this game has so much variety that just centered around the hundreds of windows you have is yeah, I mean, it just has such a great table presence, and I have a great time every time I play it. So that is my thought on Sagrada and the 3 Great Facades expansions. I think that's what they're called. Let me know what you think of the game and its expansions in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.